Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Joel Rosen. I am an adrenal fatigue recovery ninja, and today I wanted to talk to you about adrenal fatigue and mercury, heavy metals, aluminum, cadmium, arsenic, gadolinium, a lot of different metals that could be impacting your body and causing or at least leading to some adrenal fatigue issues. And in front of me is the pathway planner. So this is the genetic test. You may have been told about MTHFR, and you have MTHFR, and you don't really know what that means. You don't know how that relates to your adrenal fatigue, but it's something new that you've been told about. You've gone to the doctor. They may have told you that there's no such thing as adrenal fatigue, or they appease you by doing a cortisol test and it's normal. You don't have adrenal insufficiency, or you're not autoimmune. Your ACTH tests are normal. But then you go digging deeper and further, and you start to uncover that there's this genetic thing called MTHFR. And MTHFR basically is right here. And what that does is that causes an inability to make something called methylfolate. And when you have a problem to not be able to make methylfolate, it's kind of that first ingredient that you're not able to bake in order for that next ingredient to be used as part of another recipe. And all of these ingredients are designed to make energy in your body. So things like being able to produce hormones and neurotransmitters and regenerate your tissues so that you have new skin and new teeth and new bones and new hair and new gut flora, or if you have an infection, to be able to fight that infection off. So that's the first step. And so most people hear about MTHFR, they have a double mutation, meaning they inherited a bad gene from mom and a bad gene from dad, or they have a single mutation and they're not able to make folate. And that's kind of the star of the show. But the next star of the show is something called MTRR, or MTR. And that's where the combination of methylfolate and methylcobalamin make the next ingredient called methionine. And there's a lot of plus and plus minus on those genes, meaning when you've inherited a bad gene from mom or for dad, it's kind of like the equivalent of having a highway that has been broken down into a couple lanes. Instead of being 8 lanes of highway, it's 4 lanes if you've inherited one bad gene. Or instead of 8 lanes of highway and you've inherited 2 bad genes, it's 2 lanes. So how well are you going to be able to go through that checkpoint when you're down to 2 lanes? Not very good. So that's a problem. But here's where mercury or lead or aluminum or any metals fit in. Is what they do is they block the actions of these genes even further. So for example, think about now you have a 2-lane highway instead of 8 lanes, but then you have a car accident spilt right in the middle of that highway. That's what mercury is. And as a result, that causes B12 levels to oxidize, or they don't get methylated, and it just sits there. And a lot of the times you'll have a serum B12 test and it will be above 1,000, or it might even be above 2,000, and your doctor will say, don't worry, you have enough B12. What's happening is that B12 is not getting inside the cell, it's oxidative, and that's creating a lot of free radicals. And when we have free radicals, you have all these toxic byproducts in your cell that's causing a lot of oxidative stress, like aging and wrinkles and gray hair and sore joints and brain fog. And what happens ultimately is you have to get rid of all of that oxidative stress, or that superoxide radicals, or the hydroxy radicals. And as a result, you have to produce something called glutathione. And when you're not able to produce glutathione, now you're having all this oxidative stress. So I know I talked a lot about it, but the reason I'm talking about it is because I had a patient the other day who told me that she was getting some chelation done, and that her dentist or her doctor had looked at their blood test or the genetic test and say there's nothing in there that is contraindicated for getting these chelations done. And she happened to be plus on her MTRR, which means that any metals are going to really slow down an already 2-lane highway. And she has those metals in there, but when you start liberating those and pulling them out, you're going to put a lot more stress on that enzyme to have to clear that. And so you want to make sure you do a lot of prepping. You want to make sure that you're doing a lot of methylcobalamin or adenocobalamin or hydroxycobalamin. There's other forms of B12 that you need to get into the cell or be utilized by the mitochondria. Or you can get on some glutathione or some mitochondrial support like NAD and CoQ10. But suffice to say, I wanted to tell you that the relationship is not only is the metal toxic by itself, like mercury is the most neurotoxic element out there that just disrupts your nerve tissue and causes oxidative stress by itself. It further slows down this breakdown or this methylation process so that it causes your B12 levels to oxidize and go really high, and then your detoxification systems aren't able to eliminate that, and that causes further oxidative stress. Where do the adrenals fit in? Well, whenever there's inflammation or oxidative stress, the adrenals are signaled and say, hey, you got to kick in now. You got to reduce the inflammation. And the adrenals are like, again? I got to kick in again. So the adrenals are fighting a battle for blood sugar and psychosocial stress and relationships and bosses and environmental toxins, and now it's got to deal with the metal burden. So that's how it relates. Hopefully you had a couple light bulbs go off in your head. My name is Dr. Joel Rosen. I look forward to helping you with your adrenal fatigue nightmare. Please be sure to check me out on my Facebook page. It's Adrenal Fatigue Recovery, and I also have a blog called adrenalfatiguesociety.com. And make sure if you're watching this, you give me a comment, a share, a like, and I look forward to helping you with your adrenal fatigue nightmare. Thank you so much.